welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys. This week I'm joined by my co-host, Gene's Got Picks. Gene, how was your last week?
Oh man, you know, I think last time I was on, I said if Dallas didn't beat the Cardinals, I wouldn't be here. Um, Turns out the Cardinals showed up to play that game, and my boys lost. So we've been treading water. We're trying to find the positive in everything lately.
Any given Sunday. So, as we start every show, best of the week, worst of the week. I'll let you go ahead and you start. You start with whichever one you want. It's all yours,
Yeah,
Gene.
I'll continue with my worst. It's the Cowboys. That game was terrible to watch from kickoff to Dak's interception to end the game. It was a tough watch. It came down to our defense didn't know how to stop Joshua Dobbs at all. And I know it's not much film on him, but Joshua Dobbs coming into the NFL wasn't a top prospect, so it was a bit embarrassing seeing Dobbs cook up our defense after everybody was praising our defense, saying they could possibly be the best defense in the NFL. And then the play calling for offense, the play calling's terrible. It looked like a high school football team where we was calling the most basic plays for small-minded football knowledge guys. Like it just didn't make sense on why we didn't even run a screen. Like it just didn't make sense on the play call, and definitely once we got into the red zone. So that definitely has to be the worst thing I went through last week.
Yeah, man. Tuning into that game, you thought Dallas was a 12.5 point favorite. You never thought that it would be the other way around in that game with Joshua Dobbs as quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and putting up 17 of 21, 189 yards, and Dallas just not having an answer. And Diggs was out for the season. They lost him earlier in the week. Didn't think that would be that big of a deal with Micah Parsons, but Arizona kind of had a game plan where they stayed away from Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
But you know, never thought that Arizona would have won that game the way that they did, and they kind of dominated Dallas for the most part.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
just
It-
any given Sunday, is what they say. These guys are paid to play just the same as Dallas is, and we'll see if Dallas can bounce back next week, tomorrow actually. So I'll go ahead and I'll give my I'll start off positive. It's also in the NFL realm. The best of the week is my Cincinnati Bengals getting in the win column with a much needed win. Offense still has some room to improve, but there were some bright spots. Joe Mixon had a decent game on the ground. Jamar Chase played like the old Jamar Chase finally for the first time this season. Burrow was a bit off with that calf injury, but he still found Chase quite a bit. A win is a win. You had to have to avoid going 0-3 to begin the season. Now there was some things that need to be improved on. T. Higgins had two big drops right in his hands, but the Bengals defense balled out and played great Monday night. The Rams couldn't get any run game going. They were in passing situations for most of the game, and that is really where the Bengals got after him with 6 sacks on Stafford. Great effort all around in a much needed win for the Bengals this season to avoid going 0-3. That's my best.
Yeah, that Bengals team was that Bengals defense, stopped a pretty powerful offense that the Rams was having going pretty early in the season. Even without Cooper Cup, they was having a lot of success with the receivers that nobody even knew their names, prior to them having crazy stats. But like I said, when you're able to put teams in situations where they have no choice but to throw the ball, and you let your pass rushers just get after it, you're going to have games like that where you have 6, 7 sacks. And Joe Burrow, I think with the calf injury, I think the team, I think he showed a lot of grit, and I think the team can get around that. Even though it wasn't the best, we didn't see the best of Joe Burrow yet. I think the team can get around that, seeing that regardless, if a guy's going through a crazy. I mean, I'm sure a calf injury for a quarterback who has to throw off their foot, throw off the back foot sometimes, throw, in certain situations. I'm sure the calf injury really bothered him during that game. So to see him, grit through it and bring his team a win, I'm sure the boys are pretty ecstatic about that.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, he just keeps getting healthier and healthier as the season goes on. But you needed him out there Monday. You couldn't throw Jake Browning out there or whatever the quarterback they just signed to the practice squad. You had to have Burrow push through to get that win. And now, like I said, him and Chase are getting that chemistry together. Hopefully, it just keeps getting stronger as well as that calf gets healthier. Bengals defense also they held the darling rookie for the Rams, Puka Nakua, to under 100 yards. He had 72 yards, which is kind of misleading because he had a 37-yard reception towards the end of the game. But this guy was over 100 yards first 2 weeks of the season. It was like the first rookie had like the most receiving yards or second most receiving yards through the first 2 weeks, and the Bengals pretty much took him out of the game, which was really good to see.
Oh, yeah. Uh, I guess I'll get to my best. Um, I, I I want to say something about my Rangers, but we may get into them later on. But I have to talk about this Miami Dolphins team. They put up
Yeah.
points, 70 points on the Denver Broncos, who, if you told me a Sean Payton led team would give up 70 points, I would think you're crazy because, prior to him going to Denver, he was looked at as one of the best coaches of this era or the past 10 years. He was looked at as one of the best coaches in that era. And it is not looking good for the Broncos. In fact, the, the the slightest hope that you had about the Broncos was their defense, because even though Russell Wilson may have thrown for 100 yards for the game, the defense will only give up 100 yards, and that will keep them in a lot of the games they had last year. But something is up in Denver for them to, you know, give up 70 points, and then for players in their interviews to be like, man, I'm tired of losing. Like something is up. But the Dolphins got to give a lot of credit to them. They put a lot of faith into Tua, and I was a bit. I didn't know if Tua really had all it takes to be a franchise quarterback. But whatever I thought, throw it out the window. This guy has it all. He has moxie. He has the play. He has everything you look for in a quarterback. Um, and the team surrounding him is great. I mean, you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, those are probably two of the fastest receivers in the NFL right now. And then this defense, they gave up 20 points, but if we're being honest, if you see your offense put up 70 points, you think I'm about to go out there and dive head first into a guy, this game is over. So that's the best thing I saw last week. The Dolphins nearly breaking a record on most points scored in an NFL game.
Yeah, and they could have had that record too, but 70 points. I mean, it's ridiculous video game numbers right there. Like you said, you didn't think that Tua was going to be the man. Didn't know if he had it. I was the same way watching him play in Alabama and coming in for Jalen Hurts and leading him to the championship against Georgia. I was like, okay, this kid might have something. And then he had that nasty injury in college and he still went top 5 pick. And I was like, okay, that injury is going to affect him, I think. and I think that he's going to be a bust. But like you said, whatever I thought about it, throw it out the window. It's over with. This guy's the real deal. So much speed on that Dolphins team. I have never seen so many shovel passes go for touchdowns in that game like I did Sunday. It was ridiculous. Like at least three of shovel passes went for touchdowns. Uh, all the speed on that team, Tyreek Hill, Mostert, I can't even pronounce the other running back's name that
Yeah,
had 203 yards.
Achane,
And
I think.
yeah, Achane. And then Jalen Waddle didn't even play Sunday. So that was 70 points without one of the best receivers in the NFL, one of the fastest receivers in the NFL. Impressive, crazy stats right there. Like I said, it's video game numbers. Denver, Sean Payton talked all that crap about last year's head coach. He certainly he did not give up 70 points last year as a head coach. So it's bad stuff going out there in Denver right now, and Miami has got it rolling, and
Yeah,
they'll have a tough game tomorrow with Buffalo. I'll be interested to see how that one turns out.
and like you were saying with shovel passes, it's like they're playing backyard football. Like they was completely just in their own zone. Like they didn't care what kind of front the defense had, what coverage they was throwing out there. They was simply doing their everybody was doing their job, and it was literally working like magic. It just didn't make sense. But like you also said, they play the Bills, and the Bills ain't the Broncos, so we will see. That's a game right there that I will definitely be kicking my feet up, and watching that one for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Can't wait to see that one. So I'll go on now with my worst of the week. And it's kind of changed a little bit since last night, but it's got to be the Cincinnati Reds this week. They just Wednesday night they had the Guardians. It was 4-3. Novelle Marte hits a double down the line. They throw him out at second base, and they look back at the replay, and clearly it shows his hand is on the base before the guy tags him on the chest. They check it out on replay, and the call stands. Game over. Reds end up losing that game. The dugout looks dejected, like the season is over, and they put themselves in this position. They end up winning last night 19-2 over the Cardinals. Uh, the Diamondbacks lost two. Reds would have to win the next two. Diamondbacks have to lose the next two. So I guess there's still a glimmer of hope there, but they just shot themselves in the foot with that. And then the way they lost to the Pirates last Saturday, being up 9-0, and the Pirates coming back and winning that game 13-12. I mean, it's just you're shooting yourself in the foot being up that much at home on the Pirates. You've got to close it out. I mean, there's no excuse to lose a 9-0 lead. And they did it. And I think the season is over for the Reds. Like I said, there's still a little glimmer of hope, but I think it's over with. And that's my worst thing I saw for the week.
Yeah, I don't think I watched the game where it was 4-3 uh with the Guards. I watched the game where it was Hunter Green out there. And
Yeah.
I was like, cause I'm a fan of Hunter Green, so like let me sit down. I haven't really had a chance to watch him all year, due to like injuries and just, maybe sometimes my Rangers are playing and I just can't watch both games. But I watched this game where he was playing against the Guardians, and that was a home run derby. That's basically what I was watching, a home run derby. Neither pitcher wants to keep the ball in the ballpark. But that's what I've been saying this whole season. The Reds are exciting baseball, to say the least. If you want to watch, if I tell somebody who's never watched baseball and I want to, get them, to become a fan, I would tell them to watch the Cincinnati Reds game because there's always fireworks in the game, whether it's for the Reds or against the Reds. It's always fireworks. And like you said last night, 19-2. Like, oh man, they took some frustration out about about maybe a few of those games that they had lost. They took a lot of frustration out. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Reds next season. I think whoever, I don't know the general manager name, but I think whoever is running the team knows that this team needs pitching. And yeah, you could maybe bring in a veteran bat, to help out, because you probably won't have Votto next year. But you know, I, everybody knows that the Reds needs pitching. I would hope that the front office bring in at least just one guy. It don't necessarily have to be a big time ace. Just bring in somebody that you know can give you innings and won't put you out of the game. Like a few of the guys that you're bringing up from Double A, just bring in somebody that can, give you 5, 6 innings sometime a game, and you can then bring in your bullpen.
Yeah, Votto. I think the Votto era it will be over after tomorrow. They pretty much bid him farewell last Sunday. But you also mentioned every time it was funny. Like last week on the pod, you said the Reds are exciting because it's fireworks. You don't know what you're going to get, and then they went out that night, got up 9-0, and ended up losing that game 13-12. And it's like just when you think you've seen it all in these games, the Reds this season show you something you've never seen before, whether you want to see it or not. It
Yeah,
happens.
9-0 that would be a tough watch to see that lead creep down lower and lower as the game goes.
Yeah, it definitely was. So speaking of baseball, we'll stick with baseball right now while we're here. Your Texas Rangers, they have a one-game lead in the AL West with 2 games to go over Houston, 2-game lead over Seattle. Last night they fell to Seattle 8-0, and the day
And
before they've lost 2 in a row to Seattle. What's going on in Texas, man?
man, it seemed like Seattle want their get back because we swept them at our home. Um, I don't understand when you know Chapman is not maybe the best closer anymore, and I know Jose Leclerc isn't the really our whole bullpen is not good. Just to keep it simple, so it's kind of hard to figure out who we really throw out for that, ninth inning. But to see Chapman give up 2 singles, then he walked the last guy, and then Bruce Bochy come on the mound, and Chapman is just laughing when he's leaving. It's like you know you don't know his intentions of laughing. Like, is it that you don't care, or is it that you feel embarrassed or whatever? But I just know as a fan, I don't want to see him be our closer anymore. Uh, Cause I mean that's just embarrassing. We had a 2-1 lead heading to the bottom of the ninth inning, and J.P. Crawford, becomes the hero of the night and keep Seattle season alive. Um, it's just not looking good right now. And then we have to see their ace today, and I don't even know if we announced who we're throwing out there. Uh, it's not looking great. It's not looking great. The bats look to be dead at the worst possible time. Um, it's you're hoping to now at least just get the wild card because I don't know how the scenarios can break down with if Houston went out and Seattle went out. I'm sure we're probably done, which that would be worst case scenario. We literally just need one win, but the pitching has been so bad. Evaldi, I mean, if you told me before All Star break that Evaldi would get shelled, give up 7 runs, I would think you're crazy because he didn't show any resemblance of that before the All Star break. But now, after he had dealt with an injury that they kind of kept kind of didn't really talk about to the media about after that injury he hasn't came back and been that same ace basically. He's been our ace for basically the whole season. Um, he hasn't shown that he's that guy. And now we have Jordan Montgomery, who we're basically relying on, and he wasn't even on this team 50, 60 games into the season. So we're praying right now, to say the least.
Yeah, big matchup tonight on Fox with the Rangers. It's showing that they've got Andrew Haney
Mm,
starting against Luis Castillo, which former Red Luis Castillo traded there. Reds ended up getting Noel Marte out of that deal, but he is still Luis Castillo is one of the better pitchers in the league. Going to be a tough matchup, but like you said, Texas just needs to win one of these next two at least to get in the playoffs, whether it be
yeah,
the wild card or the West. Hopefully, they'll get that done. We'll see. It'll be interesting for sure.
yeah. You said Heaney is going to be pitching. He pitched one inning in that game that they gave up the lead late against Seattle. So that just shows how thin our starting pitching rotation is getting because
Yeah.
uh, Ochi knows not to throw Martin Perez out there again. The guy has not. He's been pretty bad the whole season from beginning to end. It's been bad for him.
So there's our kind of little baseball segment there of the week. Let's go back to the NFL real quick, and I want to hit on another team that's been pretty embarrassing this season that people were kind of high on coming into the season with Justin Fields as the quarterback. The Chicago Bears fall to the Kansas City Chiefs 41-10
Mm.
in an embarrassing effort there for the Bears. But the big story out of that game is Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift being up in the booth watching the game. Now, I don't know about you, Gene, but I could not care less that Taylor Swift was at this game. But that's
That was
all anybody wants to talk about. Now, the Swifties will probably come out, and get all crazy. But yeah, I could not care less about that. What'd you think about it, Gene?
oh man, as a Taylor Swift number one fan, um, this is great news. I was always looking forward to Taylor Swift being at an NFL game. No, to be serious, like you said, I could care less.
Yeah.
I could care less if Taylor Swift is at a football game. I'll be honest though, it is good for the game if you're looking at it as a whole. Young girls are getting into the game now because Taylor Swift is dating Kelsey. It's the whole, pop culture thing. But we know how this is going to end.
Hmm.
I don't even think the relationship lasts till the Super Bowl, and
No.
then Taylor Swift will have her new top single or her new
Yeah.
album where she's
Oh, yeah.
dissing Travis Kelsey, and you can see this from a mile away.
Oh yeah, he's the most loved man in America right now because of the Swifties. But like you said, when the inevitable happens, which it's going to happen, she's going to have a number one album about Kelsey, and then he's going to be the most hated man in America because of the Swifties. It's crazy when you look at the headlines of the games, and it's like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes throws for 3 touchdown passes as Taylor Swift celebrates the Chiefs' rout of the Bears. And it's like, what does that have anything to do with the NFL? But it's getting eyeballs on it. Like you said, it's good. Like a lot of like ladies are like curious about what the game is. What are we doing here? Can you explain how this game is? So it gets more eyeballs in there. That's good. But as for me personally, I don't care. Taylor Swift's watching a football game.
Yeah, they're kind of milking it too much. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, she's just there watching the game for her boyfriend. So what? Who? What are we supposed to do? Jump up and say hooray? Like, she's just there watching the football game, and it was a great game to go watch if you're going to support Travis Kelsey and the Chiefs,
Yeah,
because that Bears team stinks. Yeah,
yeah. And this game coming up for the Bears tomorrow, they play Denver. Is that going to be like one of the worst games of the season? Or
the least watched game.
oh
Probably gonna
man,
be the least watched of the season, least watched game of the season for sure.
It's got to be. They should put that game on, at 6 in the morning or something, because nobody's going to care anyway. It won't matter.
Or just not even.
So yeah, go ahead.
I would say just don't even televise it. Don't even put it on TV.
Yeah, it would be the same results either way, I'm sure. Uh, so we'll switch back in now. We'll go to a little college football from last week, and you were kind of concerned last week on the show that Baylor may give Texas a game. That
Yeah.
definitely did not happen. Texas
No,
down Baylor. How about it, Gene?
yeah, those Texas boys, I don't know. They must have heard, they must have tuned into the show, and so let's prove him wrong. And now I mean, we're down to this week. Kansas ain't Baylor, so they got a ranking next to their name, and I'm sure those boys, and they're undefeated, and I'm sure those boys, want to keep it that way. So, it's going to be an interesting week. Texas has been playing honestly a lot better than I expected. Steve Sarkisian, you know, has the whole Alabama coaching tree under Nick Saban, and you hear that all the time with guys that leave Nick Saban coaching staff, and they always work out. But Steve has literally turned this school around because we for a while Texas wasn't even bringing top recruits. We was having to deal with not necessarily deal with, but we was having to bring in 3-star guys and have to build them up through our program for a while. And now have the hype of Arch Manning coming to your school, so now you're getting all these 5-star receivers that want to play with the big name because the eyes will be on you. He's honestly turned the program around, and it's exciting football to watch. And definitely, if they're gonna play a full 4-quarter game where they don't sleep the first 3 quarters and then show up for the fourth, we may make some noise. I don't want to say that we'll necessarily make a run for the college playoffs yet, but it's looking like it's in our vision now. Truly looking like it's in our vision.
Just an absolute beatdown last week of Baylor. Kansas comes in this week undefeated and ranked. The first time these two teams have been ranked in a matchup ever. Texas is a 16-point favorite. Should be a good match to watch. I think Texas will take the win in this one, but like you said, Kansas is not Baylor. Kansas is not the Kansas of old. Their coach is a heck of a coach. It'll be interesting to see how this matchup goes, but I think Texas will end up winning it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if they cover that 16-point spread. I don't usually bet my favorite teams unless I really, really feel confident about it.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see how Texas react to like a dual threat quarterback because that's usually our Achilles heel. We usually struggle against guys who can throw on the run or just simply run the ball once they get out the pocket. So it's going to be definitely a game that my eyes are going to be glued to TV.
Yeah, I can't wait to check that out. 3:30 today on ABC. The Kentucky Wildcats football team last Saturday
Oh, let's go.
had a big start against Vanderbilt. 24 to nothing, jumped on them. Offense was looking great. I was talking about how slow they get off on their, and the offense hadn't been looking real well. They picked it up last week. Second and third quarter kind of but they ended up beating Vanderbilt 45-28, covering the spread. This Saturday,
Yeah.
the Florida Gators roll into town. The number 22 Florida Gators. Kentucky is just outside the top 25. Kentucky has won 3 of the last 5 against Florida. This matchup, I cannot wait to watch. Cannot wait to see if Kentucky can knock off Florida once again. These two teams are kind of similar to me in the way that, they're pretty evenly matched. Curious to see how Kentucky's going to face Florida team and see if they can defeat them.
Yeah, this is a game where I don't know the total, but I think it's going under. I think it comes down to the big boys up front, who is going to punch who in the mouth and say we're going to do we're going to oppose our will during this game. And something tells me that Kentucky has everything it takes to do that because if you look at this Florida offense, they're not anything crazy. The quarterback is nothing crazy. He's wearing 15 like he's Tim Tebow, but he's far from.
Yeah.
And you know the Kentucky offense to me between the two, I think the Kentucky offense is better when they're clicking on all cylinders. And I think the big boys up front for Kentucky O line can give a better push than what Florida has going for them on offense. So I'm definitely rooting for Kentucky in this game. This is probably to me, outside of maybe the Notre Dame and Duke game or LSU versus Ole Miss, this is for sure one of the top five games of today that's going on. That I would suggest to anybody if you're looking for a game, if you don't have anybody to watch for college football, for sure this game, Kentucky versus Florida, is one of the few where you need to be watching this one. This one is a pretty important game for the season because not only do you play Florida now, and if you beat them, possibly take their ranking, and then you see Georgia next week. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'm just saying if you can get some good momentum against Florida, Georgia hasn't, they've been dealing with injuries themselves. You can get something going. You can get something going right now.
Yeah, the over under is 44.5. Like you said, I'd probably take the under. I think this is first team to 20 wins pretty much
Yeah.
in this matchup. So like you said, neither offense has been that great. Florida's offense definitely is not the best. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I can't wait for it. Ready to get this one going. So since we're talking little over unders and spreads, this past Thursday, sports betting officially became legal in the state of Kentucky. Hey, yeah,
Hey, congrats.
yeah, celebration time. So, Gene, if you wouldn't mind, could you educate me like you're educating our audience here about a little sports betting? Tell us a little bit about like what the over unders are, lines, parlays, money line, all this, if you would.
Yeah, I'll give a quick gist on how everything goes. So as far as like spreads, you see, everybody knows as far as football, the important numbers of 3, 6, 9. Sometimes when you see those numbers on the spread, the bookies are trying to, make you decide, hey, do I think this team is going to cover this three? Or sometimes you might see a half a point. They're putting 3.5. And, you have to decide, okay, yeah, this team might win by 3, but are they going to cover that hook for you? And sometimes you might have to go on the other side, even though you don't think they're going to actually win. As far as money lines go and stuff like that, as far as football, I usually try to stay in the spreads because you get the better price. But if sometimes the spread might be -2.5 or -1.5, you might as well just stick with the money line and get your money away from dealing with the evil backdoor covers that sometimes college football can have. Um, and then with the over unders. Like you said with the Kentucky and Florida game, the total you said was 44.5.
Yes.
Yeah, that see as far as for college, that's a pretty low total. If you told me that in NFL, I would be all over that for an NFL game because the pro style offense they run the ball a lot more sometimes, but college they like to run. Those boys are out there running. But like you said, still 44.5, I would be on the side of the under. It's really the first 20 in that Kentucky Florida game. I don't think I still think Kentucky has the better offense. So if Kentucky, if anything, don't be mad at me if Kentucky ball out on Florida and push the over, because I still think Kentucky has the better offense between the two. But that's exciting to hear sports gambling being legal finally in Kentucky. I wish Texas can get some of that love.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, just started on Thursday. One of the first bets that they give you was if you put a minimum of $50 in and there's a touchdown scored in the Lions Packers game, you double your money. And it's like, well, there's a no brainer. Uh,
Yeah.
and today they have one for the state of Kentucky that if Kentucky scores a point, you double your money. So if you put 50 in, you get 100. So it's like, all right, this is nice right here. We could build up a little bank and use
Yeah.
that and start. But it's good to see it's in finally. And like you said, we're not responsible for you taking our gambling advice on this podcast right here.
Because I will tell you this. Uh, there's a reason why the bookies in Vegas have glass chandeliers in their house. They
Yeah,
win a lot. They win a lot, but you got to make sure that you take the responsible bets. If you know if you know this is your last dollar, don't bet your last dollar on whatever game going on.
yeah, you got to be responsible in it, and don't think that you can bet every little bet like in game. It's like, okay, settle down, okay. It, just wait, just make your picks, do a
I'm,
few here and there.
I'm sure there's a few guys in Kentucky that have probably bet every college game today. This has been open.
Oh, no doubt about it. And parlays, you pretty much want to stay away from parlays, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you there's certain sports like if you're into MMA or like boxing, sometimes if they have decent lines, those type of sports you can parlay because a fight can last 30 seconds or it can
Yeah,
last the whole fight, however long the fight is. So those type of sports you can parlay. I don't think there's any issue with those, parlaying those type of sports. But when they get to football, basketball, even hockey. You kind of want to, I'll say, limit it to 3 games. If you just love to parlay, limit it to 3 games max. Don't parlay 5, 6 games and really see the payout and be like, oh man, I hit
yeah,
this with Rick. Like it's not gonna happen.
yeah,
This is coming from somebody who, when I first started betting, I was that guy. Well, I would parlay 6 games on the NFL slate and be like, you know what, this is the day I'm rich. It's not happening. It's just I really say, limit it to 2 games that you may really like, but even then, you're pushing it because if it's an underdog, if you're liking somebody who's plus money, I didn't get into that. If you're liking a team that's plus money, you're getting almost with a double your money. Just bet that single game. You know what I mean? And if you really want to bet another game where it's a big favorite, then maybe you can parlay that up with something else instead of putting them all together. You know.
I took a 2 game parlay the other night. The first night it was legal. Western Kentucky money line, Tulsa money line. Paid out $31. And I was like, all right, that's great. Not going to parlay any more than that right there. I may parlay, like you said, it's going to be like 2 to 3 games. That's it. Not going to go 10 games crazy and see the big payout and be out. But yeah, so it's legal, it's live, and football is going to be so much different in Kentucky now because of this. It's great.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's hope we don't hear about any Kentucky boys betting on the team. 'Cause I heard Iowa was going through that this off season.
Yeah, definitely don't want that to happen. But yeah, that's going to be a big temptation with them. But hopefully they can just hold off until they get to the NFL, and then hopefully they're not like Calvin Ridley. But anyways, uh, so sticking with the college football, getting back to college football. Actually, we kind of went on the gambling thing there. Last week, one of the worst things that happened. You probably know where I'm going with this. It is Oregon
Yeah.
and the beatdown they put on Coach Prime. I never thought that Colorado would have got just embarrassed like that, but Oregon apparently had something to prove. The coach was, kind of trash talking, and if you put up, you beat a team down like that, you got every right that you can talk smack. But it's disappointing to see Colorado kind of not really show up last week after the first, couple of weeks of them looking really good.
Yeah. I I had a bet on Colorado.
Oh,
I I took Colorado plus 20 some points or whatever they gave them. And
yeah,
yeah, let's just say I was watching the first quarter, maybe got to the second quarter and said this is enough. I'm
yeah,
not watching more because you can just see what program has been at their best for the longest.
hmm,
Oregon they just dominate them from the line of scrimmage to their secondary. Was on the receivers like a glove. Like they was in their pockets. Like nothing worked out for Colorado at all.
yeah,
Shador even couldn't. I think he was sacked like what 7 times that game.
yeah,
Like it was bad from the beginning, but Colorado kind of has themselves to blame because they was feeling themselves a little too much. I was seeing
hmm,
a pregame video or some on the internet where they was stumping on the Oregon O in the middle of
yeah.
the field. Like, come on, guys, you haven't won anything. Like I try to support Colorado when they're doing their best, but I gotta call them out when they're doing something bad. You don't do that even if it is a rival or whatever, you don't go out your way to go to somebody's house. That's basically going to somebody's house and they show you, hey, this is my new carpet I got. You bring your muddy shoes and you just stump over it. It's like, what was the point? What did you get out of it? So they had that butt whooping coming to them. I still have high hopes for them. I still think they can. I thought they was gonna get a New Year's Bowl, but you can kiss that goodbye because they're gonna probably lose to USC today. Just call it
Yeah.
what it is. They might cover because they got punched in the mouth so bad last week, but I won't be there betting on it. But
No.
they might can make at least like a bowl game. They might make the Alamo Bowl, and I think that'll still be a successful season for them. But yeah, you can kiss the New Year's Bowl and anything past that goodbye.
Last week, that offensive line was just complete hot garbage, awful. Shadur had no time at all. I think in this offseason with the transfer portal, Dion's going to get him some offensive linemen, definitely for sure. He's going to get this team, he's going to get this program turned back around. Colorado is going to be okay in the long run. This week, they're, like you said, let's call it like it is, they're going to get beat USC. But he's going to get it turned back around. And like all these other coaches that are like talking smack about Dion hasn't said a word negatively about any of these coaches.
Yeah,
He's eventually going to keep all these receipts and he's going to come back. Like he's not going to play Oregon again because they're moving to the Big 12. But he's going to get this. He's going to have Colorado as a power in a few years, I believe. But last Saturday's just it was a disappointing screeching halt to the beginning of the prime era at Colorado. The
yeah, it was definitely probably one of the most embarrassing. Like, 'cause I told a lot of people, hey, the place to be. Like a lot of people that I know on personally, I was like, hey, this is the place to be. This is easy. Colorado plus 20. Come
Mhm.
on, like this is where we need to be. And man, talk about embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that number 19 ranking just kind of went by the wayside after that. The best game last Saturday was last Saturday night, Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Uh,
Uh, Notre Dame had that game won, and they leave 10 men on the field, and Ohio State scores from the winning touchdown. How do you let that happen?
man. Who do you
You
blame? Who do you blame for that?
I think it starts with Marcus Freeman. He said that he didn't want to take a penalty, but they're at the 1 yard line. How much farther are they getting to the goal line? Get your guys set, get your defense set. Apparently, where they scored a touchdown is where the missing man was supposed to be at, and it's like you've got. I mean, if you have to take a penalty, who cares? They're moving what 6 inches. It'll be
Yeah,
okay. Get your guys set to win that game, but Ohio State wins it over Notre Dame, and it's just I don't understand how you have just 10 guys on the field at that critical part of the game.
yeah. Ohio State was looking bad the whole game, and it was you kind of could see it as the game was going. It's like somehow Ohio State is going to sneak and get by in this game because just Notre Dame, like you were saying, they 10 players on the field, like simple mistakes where you can avoid. Like these are mistakes you can avoid. If you're pointing the blame at Marcus Freeman, at that point, if I'm the head coach, just run on the field and take a flag.
Yeah,
Like just do something. Like this is a mistake that is, that could have been avoided. It was 0 seconds left, basically, by the time the ball was going to be snapped. Like it didn't matter if he was going to give them a first down or
no,
if, like you said, it up 6 inches. Like you got to do something to put your players in the best situation to win, and they didn't.
yeah. Yeah, and as a defensive, he's a defensive guy himself. He has to know you cannot do that at that point in time. But Ohio State squeaks by. I don't think Ohio State looks as good as what their fans think that they are. The fans are somewhat delusional.
Yes.
But Kyle McCord, he did not. I mean, as far as an Ohio State quarterback, he doesn't really look like one yet. He made one good throw to get him down to the one, but other than that, he had a not so great game. But Ohio State fans, got their chest out right now, and they beat a top 10 team on the road. I guess they can talk a little.
Did you see? Did you see Ryan Day diss Lou Holtz in the post game presser or like the post game interview?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, come on, man. What
yeah.
are you talking about? And the funny thing, I don't. He must didn't see the clip of where Lou Holtz was talking about him, but it was really a Lou Holtz impersonator and Lou Holtz talking. Like if you take anything of that conversation serious, you're out of your mind. Like it was not a serious situation at all. But if that's what you need to get your boys pumped, by all means do it. But that was a bit of a stooge moment for Ryan Day. It's like the guy, even if Lou Holtz really did, have a problem with you, he's 86. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You gonna go to his retirement home and beat him up? Like, come on, man. Like, what are you talking about?
And they had Lou Holtz at the game that day, and like you said, he's just an old man. He's barely getting around, and like Ryan Day's talking trash about him. And the Buckeye fans, like the whole game, like on Twitter, they're like trashing Ryan Day and he's this terrible coach. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, he's the best thing we've had here since Urban Meyer." Whatever. And it's like, okay, you hated this guy and was ready to kick him out of Columbus three hours ago, and now you're back on his side. It's just Ohio State fans, man. I don't know about them.
That's college football for you. That's
Oh man.
definitely football for
Uh,
you.
so we'll hit a little NBA topic here real quick. Um, this past week, Portland Trailblazers send Damian Lillard to Milwaukee, where he will team up with Giannis.
Ooh,
Dame time in Milwaukee. What do you think about it, Gene?
man. I just not thought about it now, but I should probably put in a ticket for a Milwaukee Bucks to win the championship because I mean you got Giannis who can basically take it all the way down court and dunk on anybody, and then you got Dame who can shoot half court 3-point shots. How does this team lose? You know, how does this team honestly lose? And then they didn't give up much. Drew
No.
Holiday, Drew Holiday won them a championship. I'm sure he's well respected in the community. He has a great story with his wife and her battle with cancer. So, great player. I don't want to diss him, but they gave up a bag of peanuts essentially for that to get Dame. Like they didn't give up anything really to pick up Damian Lillard, and they already have their culture of defense. I don't know if it's going to still translate after trading a few guys away. 'Cause I think they also let go Grayson Allen. He's a bit of a pest on defense, but
Best
I think
overall.
I, I think the Bucks got a pretty good shot to indefinitely being in the East when the Celtics always find a way to melt down late in the season, or the
Yeah.
Sixers. They don't know how to win a playoff series to save their life. Everything sets up pretty well for them on the East side. I wish the West Coast, where my Mavs are at, could get some love like that, but it's going to be a pretty exciting season. I'm excited for the NBA this year.
Yeah, he'll get started here in just a few weeks. And uh, Jimmy Butler, he was pretty upset, saying that the NBA needs to look into tampering for Milwaukee because of this deal, because everybody was saying, it was going to be Dame time in Miami. And obviously it's now not going to be. And that just swings that power back to the Bucks over in the East, like you said. Go put in a ticket for Milwaukee to win the East at least.
At least, because I mean, I don't think anybody really pose a threat because the Celtics are going to have a good season because they got a great roster. They picked up
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis, so they should get better. But Giannis, I mean, his play style is so physical and he's durable. So it's not like you're like, oh man, Giannis play really hard, but he might sit out for 20 games. He basically play the whole season and play the same style of basketball. He's bumping shoulders and he's about to dunk on your center. And Dame is a little bit more finesse. He's gonna be at the perimeter. You know, the pick and roll for Giannis and Dame. I mean, God, it is
Yeah.
gonna get ugly. It is gonna get ugly for those boys in the East.
And just think about it. A couple weeks ago, Giannis was actually requesting a trade. I think that that's probably going to get rescinded now with them bringing Dame time to Milwaukee.
And my fingers was crossed. I was like, please trade Giannis, please trade Giannis.
Oh man. Well, Gene, you got anything else to add?
Boy, outside of the football games tonight, I will be watching the Canelo versus Charlo fight. Um, Canelo Charlo is from Houston, so by default, I'm gonna be rooting for him. But I know this is an uphill battle.
Yeah, I may put in a little parlay on some MMA tonight. Then we'll see. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming in here, and we doing this again. We'll do it again next week, man. And hopefully, all our teams do what they need to do this week and take care of business.
Yeah, hopefully, next time we're talking about the Rangers in their World Series run.
There we go. We can only hope. All right, man. We'll see you later, man.
All right.